Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast with me, your host, Ken. I'm a retired teacher documenting my story here on the pod, finding teachable moments to share with all of you along the way. Don't forget to hit me up on Instagram at sportscard_lessons. Hit the follow button, and you can watch these episodes on the Sports Card Lessons YouTube channel. Welcome, everyone. How is everyone doing? Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast, please hit the subscribe button and leave some feedback. Welcome to another Monday episode. It's actually Sunday night that I'm recording this, and it's actually halftime, the Cowboys and the 49ers game. So I'm going to squeeze this in. Before we start, a huge shout out to Jeremy Lee. What a great interview last week on my Thursday episode. Just a great guy and a great ambassador of the hobby. I'm really looking forward to meeting him in person up in Toronto at the Toronto Card Expo in April. I'm definitely going to make plans to get up there to that show and hang out with him. Looking forward to that. Also, shout out to my good friend Rob Gerard, sports card therapist. We collaborated on some bonus content, which I dropped on Saturday. That was a great episode called Shifting Gears in Our Collecting. And if you've missed that at all, definitely go back and check that out too. I know it was Saturday. Usually I've never dropped on a Saturday, but it was something that we recorded Thursday night. And to me, it was really more of a bonus episode. So hope you guys enjoyed that. If you missed it, definitely go check that out. Whew, what a weekend. I attended a local card show on Saturday, and I set up today at another show. And both shows had great traffic, and I saw a lot of familiar faces. Interesting. I showed up at the first show on Saturday, and I went in, and like my first 6 or 7 tables, I had to walk by. There was just too many people. I couldn't even see what the dealer had in the cases, and I thought to myself, "Wow, this is pretty good. This is really a good sign." Um, and I actually did 3 loops at that particular show and that was before I could see everything, just because there was that many people. That was the Plainville show in Connecticut. Shout out to my guy Alex at Ideal Cards. I saw him over there. It's good to see him. There's a store here in Connecticut. I went up to see him. I think it was Thursday. I drove up to his store and hung out with him for a while. It's always nice to get like a little. I love going up there and hanging out with him. And we're not together 15 minutes, and we're talking about National, getting ready for National, what's going to be good at National, everything about National. And it actually just keeps recharging my batteries, getting me ready, getting my mind ready, and just planning so far in advance. But I just want to be very prepared come National. So shout out to him. I hung out with him at his store on Thursday, and then saw him at the show on Saturday. As a Chiefs fan and a dealer, it was the best of both worlds this weekend, because I got to watch my Chiefs win, even though I was a little nervous with Patrick Mahomes' injury. And hopefully he'll be able to get past that for next week's game. But best of both worlds, right? I get to watch my team win, and the team they beat, the quarterback Trevor Lawrence, on Sunday, I sold mostly all my Trevor Lawrence cards. He was probably the hottest guy in my case on Sunday, which is interesting, that a quarterback, if you would have told me last week, well, if Trevor Lawrence loses to the Chiefs, his cards will be hot on Sunday, I would have said, no, that's not going to happen. People are just going to pass right by and say, well, we'll wait to see what happens next year. But they were hot. I mean, I talked about this last week. I had some discount cards in my discount box, some cards in my cases. I had 8 in total. And I sold 6 of them. And I only have 2 left, 2 Trevor Lawrence cards left. So that was pretty good. I mean, to me, best of both worlds. My team can win, and the quarterback they beat, I can sell his cards. So many people looking for raw cards. at the Springfield show a couple weeks ago, at the Terrytown show, the local shows this weekend. Everyone I'm talking to now is saying, buy raw and grade, buy raw and grade. That's what we need to do. That's what everyone's doing. That's the way to do it right now. If you're in the hobby, I'm sure you hear this and you may even think this yourself. I mean, you may even been convinced by somebody else that this is the way to do it. So today's episode is all the grading worth it? I've been asking the same question to everyone looking for raw. And they come and if you're at shows, you see them. They pull the card out. Can I take it out of the one touch? And I'm examining it and I'm holding it to the light and I've got my phone over it and I'm doing all this stuff. But what do we really know? What do we really know? I mean, if we looked at that card and we said, this card is perfect, absolutely perfect. I'm going to buy this card. I'm going to pay your price. I'm going to go home. I'm going to send it off to the grading company. What happens if it comes back a 9? Does it mean you missed something on the card? Or does it mean the opinion of the person at the grading company didn't agree with your opinion, that you thought it would be a 10, right? I've looked at cards. I pulled cards out of the cases. Take my phone out. I look at corners and I say, yes, this could, I would say 70 to 80%, this is going to get a 10. For sure. For sure, it's going to get a 10. And I'll have other people look at it. They'll be like, nah, a 9 at best. I'm like, wait. What do you mean a 9 at best? Oh, well, the centering. I'm like, I've got my ruler right here. I mean, it looks like it's centered. The corners look good. The edges look good. Some of the talk at the show today was a few people saying, "Oh yeah, like I prepare cards and I send them in for grading." And I said, what do you charge to do it? Man, a couple dollars a card. I mean, how can you hold the guy responsible if he's only charging a couple dollars a card? I mean, I don't know if that's even the going rate. I'm really not even sure what the going rate is. A couple dollars a card, but if I gave you my card and you charged me $2 or $3 and you sent it in and it came back a 9, what am I going to do? I'm going to come yelling at you, tell you I want my $3 back? That I mean, what? Uh, and again, I think it's still an opinion. It's just the opinion of who's looking at it. We had Jeremy Leon last week, and the tag grading company, he talked about, the AI that's doing all the work on the cards, and you're getting a full report on that. So what does that tell us in the hobby? What is that saying to us? And we can be completely honest right now, right? If I have a card that I think is absolutely pristine and it's a high-end card, and I have other people look at it and they say, this card, it looks really good and it's a high-end card. I want to send it to tag. I want it to be high grade. I want it to come back and I want people to know this went to tag and everything. Just everything's perfect about this card, right? Um, if we have a card, and this is the honest part, if we have a card that we say, the centering could be just a little bit off, or there might be a little dimple there, or this little tiny, or something like that. I don't think we're not going to send it to a company like that, right? We're gonna send it to PSA, BGS. We're gonna send it to another company, hoping that a human person looking at this is going to overlook it or say, it's not too bad. We'll let that one slide, or that they're going to have a positive opinion on this card. And everyone I talk to feels the same way. If you have a card that's real iffy, you're not going to send it to a company that's going to grade this card with AI. You're going to send it somewhere hoping that somebody will overlook some things and give you a high grade. It comes down to the opinion of the person looking at it. I had a PSA sub reveal on Friday night. We did a live with Sports Card Therapist. Not sure if you saw it. If you didn't, you can go back and see it. Um, And these were, and we talked a little bit about this. These were cards that I asked somebody to look at and look over these cards before I sent them in and tell me, what do you think? Like, and they asked me, what are you looking for on these cards? And I said, a high nine. Like, it could be a 10. You think it might get a 10, but if it doesn't get a 10, it's going to be a nine. And at that point, I felt like to myself that I would be happy with nines on some of the cards. Um, and I had a number of people, I had 3 different people look at the cards. And with all these 3 people and going through and getting their opinions and looking at the cards, I really weeded out a lot of cards. I mean, that if I didn't have anybody look at them, that could have been like a 40 or 50 card submission, and it ended up being, for me, on my end of it, was less than 20 cards, because these were the cards people said, I really think these could be 10s. Um, there was only one card in there that was an old second-year Gretzky card that I knew would never be a 10, and I would hope for whatever I got, on that card. I just wanted to get it graded for my own PC. So we got all these cards back, and I go through them. It was about 50%. Now, there's just 3 people going through these cards, looking at these cards, and the way they particularly look at cards, whether it's a magnifying glass or whatever they're using, and they're saying, these could be 10s, 50%. Half came back 9s, half came back 10s. That's really not a good percentage, especially when you're having people look at these cards. You're having multiple people who are in the hobby and know what they're doing and look at these cards. And I wonder, and I'm going to say this, I wonder if I broke all those cards out, cracked them all out, and resubmitted every single one of those cards, would the grades come back identical, or would there be flip-flop? There'd be some that were 9s and some that were 10s, that now all of a sudden they're a 9, and 9s are all of a sudden 10s. I don't know. I'm not going to spend the money doing it. Um, it makes me think how many cards get cracked and regraded. I mean, the numbers have to be astronomical. If you're on Instagram or Facebook, you see people putting up videos or just posting. I bought, they showed the old picture and the new picture. This was an 8.5, now it's a 9.5, or it was a 9 and now it's a 10. Um, So these pop counts are growing, but it's really just inflated pop counts because it's the same card that we just keep regrading. And does it make sense if it's a low end card? Like, you're saying, geez, this really should have been a 10. If it's a 9, it's a $40 card, and if it's a 10, it's $100 card. Are you going to crack it out and send it back in? Probably not. I mean, what do you care? But if it's a $1,000 card or a $2,000 card, or a $900 card that as a 9 it's 900, but as a 10 it could be 2,200 or 2,100. Well, yeah, you definitely, it may be worth risking the 50 or $100 or whatever it is to send it back in, or to send it to another grading company to see if you can get a bit better grade on that. And there's people that talk about that. They're saying, oh, I'm going to send this one to BGS because I want the half grade, right? I think the half grade's better. It's probably an 8, and if it goes to BGS, it could come an 8.5, which looks better than an 8, or. But are we hurting ourselves? I mean, are we just allowing the grading companies just to make a fortune? I mean, are we really, when these pop counts are off so much, it's starting to bring it's starting to bring the value of cards down, and it's creating that larger separation in grades, like the value of a card from a PSA 9 to a PSA 10. If the pop counts are so high, if we're cracking the same cards and sending them back in and they're still coming back 9s, I mean, some of them will come back at 10. um I had 2 identical cards that I sent out. One came back at 9, one came back at 10. The 9 is $65 and the 10 is $275. I mean, that's a huge jump. I mean, if I had 2 9s, I'm certainly not going to recrack them and send them back in. I mean, not if they're only 65, if I'm taking a chance of a $65 card, but I was happy to get a 10 on it. But you think it cost $15 to grade the card. I had to ship the card. I had to acquire the card. I mean, maybe I'm almost breaking even on a 9. And I understand that there's people that will grade a ton of cards just hoping, that the 10s are going to cover the prices of the 9s, but I don't have cards like that. I'm not out buying 10 or 15 or 20 of the same cards. If I have a card or maybe two of the same card, I mean, if I don't think that on that card that I had came back a 9 and a 10, I had 5 of those cards, and those were the two best cards out of the 5. And the other 3 cards I just sold raw. And people know. I mean, they come to the table and they'll look and they start examining in there, and they'll be like, "Oh, I see that little corner," or I see that, and people are saying, "Oh, I have a kit. I'm just going to buy it and fix it, and I'll send it in." I've never used a kit. I know people even today. People were recommending a kit to buy, and I think I took some notes too. Um, I guess a higher end card, I would use a kit, but it's a lower end card. Some of the stuff that I'm grading for my own PC, and the other stuff I'm grading a lot of older stuff now that I don't think they ever could be a 10 anyways, but it's putting me into a different market. Um, and one of the things I did when I was looking at grading a lot of those music cards is I started looking up what pop counts would be on them, and they were so insanely low. So I just felt it's just an untapped market that I could get in and create my own lane while setting up. And getting back to the cards, let's not forget the variations. Like, you get a card that's got, like, 15 different variations. It's the same base card, right? Or it's the same picture of the player, whatever they're doing in that action shot. And now we've got so many. We got the blue, we got the green, we got the purple, we got numbered, we got autographed, we got refractor, I mean, it's just, and it's all the same card. They're just, jazzing a card up with doing something else with it. So then what happens? Then what happens on the values of those cards? Uh, because now they're comparing them to each other. It's the same card. Maybe it's just a different color in there. So now you have a 9 that's a blue and a 9 that's a green and a 9 that's a purple. I mean, those values are all really, really close together. There's really no separation until you hit 10s. So my advice on this, buyer beware. Buyer beware. I'm starting to see people starting to sell PSA slabs less than the cost of grading. And I'm talking about the $15 or the $17 grading. I'm not talking about, what we were paying a few years ago during pandemic was $150. And then it dropped down. I think it went to 100 and then it went to 50. And you can tell that, and I'm referring to PSA right now. But you could tell that they're caught up because now they were doing Christmas specials at $15 a card. And here it is, January 22nd. I have an order in with almost 100 cards that I sent in on the 31st, the last day of the year, or the 30th, or whatever that Friday was. Uh, and they've been in grading for over a week. So it's nothing is really being, held up there. That stuff seems to be running right through now, pretty smooth. So, yeah, my advice, just buyer beware, because I think so many things are being graded out there. Um, the low, I mean, if you hit an 8, forget it. I mean, I don't even think you may have to just crack it out and just put it in a discount box versus trying to sell it as a slab, because it's almost like nobody's going to buy it now. It's like anybody's pulling cards out of those singles boxes. They want to pull cards out. Everyone wants to grade the card. So if you put it in a slab and you put it in an 8, who's going to buy it? I mean, everybody wants a PSA 10, right? They'd rather take that card and go pull it out of the box and hope that they could do something better with it. I mean, possibly with 8s on a higher end card, I hear a ton of people talking about cracking them and resending them back in, fixing them up, doctoring them up, wiping them down, things like that. And I'm sure it works for some, but how disappointed would you be if you spent all that money and you sent it all out and came back the same grade? And worse, could come back less. I mean, the opinion of that person, it could cost less. buyer beware. And no matter how well you think that that card will grade, like you say, oh, it's got to be a 10. Like I would say, or the people that I value their opinion looked at my cards, and they tell me the same thing. There was such a finite difference between grades, between a graded 9 and a graded 10. Um, but the values of the 9s are just sinking or dropping because of those high pop counts. Um, and moving forward, the pop counts are, I think that's going to be so much more important with cards. And if you heard me talking with Sports Card Therapist the other night, a lot of the stuff that I really buy, I'm really buying for my PC, and I'm really just looking at low pop counts because I don't want, if I have a card, I want to have a card that is scarce. I don't want to have a card that everybody else owns a card. And he says to me all the time, I can't believe you don't have a Gretzky rookie yet. And I think I've probably mentioned this 10 times already, right? I mean, the pop counts are so, eventually I'm gonna own one. Eventually I'm gonna own one, but the pop counts are so high. I could own one anytime. I go to the local show today. I saw 4 of them at the local show. Every show I go to, I see a good 6, 8, 10 Gretzky rookies, whether they're OPC or tops. I mean, they're just all over the place. There's so many of them. Uh, I want to find cards that you don't go to the show and see. And when people see this card, they'll be like, "Oh, that is a nice." Yeah, you don't see that often. Those are the cards I want to own. Buyer beware on the grading. On last week's Monday episode, I talked about getting a Connor McDavid card, a rookie card, and I had mentioned in it, and I clearly remember saying this, that this was my second, and I wish I still had my first. And I rolled right past that. So today I'm set up at the local show, and I start looking at another guy's card, the guy I made a deal with last week, his hockey cards, and I was looking through his cards, and I saw this card, and I started thinking to myself, I'm like, wait a minute, I sold that card at this show, the very first time I ever did this show a couple years ago. So I said to him, I said, did you bought this card from me, didn't you? And he said, no, no, no. He said, I bought it at the show from a guy who was set up way. And I'm like, yeah, that was me. That was the first time I ever set up at the show. That was my card. Uh, and I was able to buy it back today. I bought that card back today. It was the first Connor McDavid rookie I owned, and I bought it back today. Um, so shout out to Tom on Instagram at Kirill, Kirill underscore recognize underscore real. Um, I've done a few deals. Tom's a great guy. Tom and I, our minds think alike, and we're kind of in the same lane. So, you know, he listens to the podcast, and he came right over to me this morning. He's like, Ken, he said, everything you do, the music, the hockey, the women's soccer, it's like you and I could just be trading cards back and forth all day because we're both in each other's lanes here. So it was really cool to hang out with him today, and even cooler to get the exact same card that I purchased, to get that back. Usually you don't get a chance at that, so I was pretty pumped about that. Shout out to my man Jordan on Instagram at Zips Cards. He came down. We messaged last night, told him I was doing the show. He came down, he hung out, we made a deal. He bought a nice soccer card from me, and it was just fun hanging out, seeing him. I hadn't seen him in a while, and it was definitely good seeing him. Shout out to my man Evan. He is not on social media, but does listen to the podcast. And he was another person I've met just through these shows. And I was messaging with him, telling him I was setting up. And he said, because I met him at the show, he set up at the show, and he said he was going to try to get a table. I said, hey, if you talk to my guy John, tell him to put us together, and he did, and we got to hang out today. So it was a fun time hanging out with him. And shout out to John, Primetime Card Shows. John's I shouted him out last week. He puts the Springfield show on, and this is his local show. So just shout out to him, and great table location. Upcoming shows. The last shows are back. Garden State Trading Show at La Quinta Inn and Suites in Secaucus, New Jersey. That is February 18th. The EC3, my guy Scott Sky Up Signings. I saw him on Saturday at the Plainville show. This is his show. He promotes this show at Mohegan Sun. So I'm looking forward to that. February 25th and 26th. And then Laz has 2 shows in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, March 4th and April 8th. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please like, definitely subscribe, and most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.